Hello, I'm Scott Jackson, your retirement mountain guide here at Jackson Private Wealth Management in, ironically, flat Cocoa, Florida. Part 3 today of our 5-part series. We're trying to get you up the mountain of life and back down again as safely as possible. So to successfully reach the peak of any mountain, we have to acclimatize. That is, we have to get used to our new environment, which often means getting used to less and less oxygen as we climb higher and higher. Now, as I have often done over the years, I learned the hard way. That's the way I like to learn things, going too high, too fast on a climb. I had recently arrived in Ecuador in December of '92, and some friends had moved down from Alabama, invited my family to come down and spend some time with them. So one of the first things that we did there from our home base in Riobamba was to head up majestic Chimborazo to the northwest there of the city. Now, Chimbo is supposedly the highest point on the earth when measured from the center of the earth. It's one of the few mountains that you can drive up as much as 16,000 feet. I have pictures of this particular day, and I can tell you that the weather was actually quite nice, no problem there. Sunny with a few clouds, not too cold, jackets. We parked our 4x4 at one of the two refuges up toward the end of the road there, and a group of us, guys and gals, got out and began to hike on up. As we walked farther and farther away from the vehicle, though, my head began to pound. Felt like it would explode. It hurt so bad. It had never hurt that bad. So bad that I actually wound up lying down there on the rocky terrain and waiting for my group to reach their turning point and come back to get me. The mountain truly humbled me. I had tried to do too much, too fast. There was nothing I could do. Too little oxygen above 14,000 feet from me. I had not taken enough time to acclimatize. Had I spent a few weeks or so there in Riobamba at around 9,000 feet, I probably would have been fine. So what, pray tell, does this have to do with successfully summiting the mountain of life? Well, it's more than just getting used to doing without stuff like we talked about in our last clip. There are a lot of people with very little junk that still feel like they're struggling to catch their breath each day. While lowering the weight on our back can help, a big part of acclimatization actually comes from getting to know ourselves. We make decisions each day on what we're able to handle. How will our decisions affect us? We think ahead about how they will affect us physically, mentally, emotionally, and even spiritually. Again and again over the years, I have seen people, myself included, hurt themselves when they tried to do too much, too fast, or to do something that they were not really prepared to do. In investing, for example, I see a lot of do-it-yourselfers, do-it-yourself type investors that think they know what they're doing. They believe the hype. Hey, just own the low-cost S&P 500 index and you're all set. Well, maybe, but maybe not. They don't really realize that they are actually investing in a momentum-based market timing strategy. Be happy to explain that at some point if you like, but that's really what it is, a market timing, momentum-based strategy, and we use that term strategy loosely. Actually, they won't know until it's too late. Value investing has always been the better way to invest over the long term. It always wins, and it always will. How do we know? Because we are buying businesses. When is the best time to buy anything? When it's on sale. Paying too much for a good business is certainly better than paying too much for a bad business. Paying too little for a good business. Now that's every businesswoman or businessman's dream. A dream come true. If I pay less than the average market value of a business, based on what I'm paying for its earnings relative to what investors have historically been willing to pay, I'm going to be in much better shape than the investor who buys the business through an index fund with no thought of its current valuation, when it might be selling for a much higher price relative to its earnings than it historically has sold for. Now, if that's too much for you to get your mind around today, we will elaborate and we will help you to visualize that in a clip in the weeks ahead. Buying the S&P 500 index with no thought to what we're paying for the underlying business is really only half the problem, though. The other half is, do we want to be all in on a stock-based portfolio with no bonds? On a risk scale from 1 to 99, with 99 being extremely risky, the S&P 500 comes in at a very heady 75 in the risk assessment software that I use. Now, most folks nearing retirement score about half that on their risk assessment score. So the only way to get their score from mid-70s, where it would be in the all S&P 500 portfolio, down into the 30s is to add a heaping of bonds and or cash. It's the only way. Otherwise, it would be like me on Chimborazo, gasping for air with a pounding headache if the stock market went south right as I am at the peak and getting ready to retire or have retired. So now, while Chimbo reigns supreme as the tallest point from the center of the earth, most of us consider Everest to be the granddaddy of them all because it is the highest from sea level. Now, sadly, it's not usually on the way up that is the most dangerous part of Everest, but many people suffer on the way down. Darkness, extreme temperatures, the wind, the loose footing, all of these things on the descent can prove treacherous. Most of us would agree that our retirement years, our descent is likely going to be more difficult than our working years. So, up next, how can my granddaddy's story help you to make the best of your descent, your retirement years? We'll hit the highlights in our next clip. I hope you enjoyed part 3 of our 5-part series on climbing the mountain of life. To learn more about us or to view important disclosures, you can go to www.jackson.financial. And if you have some concerns over your portfolio risk at this moment in time, have a quick click there on the link on the home page to free portfolio analysis. We're glad to help. Best wishes on a successful climb and, more important, on a successful descent. Take care.